All right, so let's start with the big story that we're tracking on WION. The ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine has now entered into its 6th month, and although the countries had signed a deal to unblock the export of grains from the Black Sea ports, tensions are on the rise. In the latest, the Ukrainian farmers harvested crops in southeastern region of the country, which is now under Russian occupation. Ukraine has accused Russia of stealing grain from the territories that Russian armies seized since the war began. Russia, however, has denied the claims that have been made by the Ukrainians. And as the war rages on, more and more world leaders and high-profile delegations are now paying their visit to Kyiv. A senior U.S. congressional delegation made a crucial visit to Ukraine on Saturday, where they met with President Volodymyr Zelensky in Kyiv. The delegation, which included the chair of the House Armed Services Committee, Adam Smith, is the latest in a series of high-profile American visitors to Ukraine. And their visit came just hours after the Russian military struck the port city of Odessa.
But what the Russians have taken, it is incredibly important that we support Ukraine to push back now, before the winter comes and before we get locked into another frozen conflict where Russia has simply taken a larger chunk of Ukraine and can bide their time to keep going. And that's what I hope people understand. There is no evidence that Putin is going to stop until he is actually stopped. What we need is peace.
Now, the American delegation reaffirmed its support to Kyiv during its visit. The officials also visited the towns of Irpin and Bucha in the suburbs of Kyiv. Now, these are the towns which are believed to have witnessed one of the worst atrocities since the beginning of the war. Volodymyr Zelensky, meanwhile, has thanked the American President Joe Biden for a new package of security assistance that is said to be worth about $270 million. In a video address on Saturday, the Ukrainian president also shared the latest details of the army action from the Ukrainian forces. Zelensky said that the Ukrainian forces are now gradually moving into eastern Kherson region that was taken over by Russia at the start of this war. Now, the Antonovsky Bridge, which is a crucial entry point for the region, has been destroyed by the Ukrainian shelling.
Оцей день видно, наскільки ми просунулись до нашої перемоги. Вона буде. Передусім, можна сказати зараз про Херсонську область. Окупанти намагалися там закріпитись. Їхні колаборанти наробили різних наглих заяв, які російською мовою називаються дуже влучним словом – шапка закидательств.
So as this crisis unfolds, Russia continues to intensify its artillery attacks in Ukraine's eastern side. In the latest, residential buildings were hit in the Kharkiv region, triggering a new wave of fresh attacks from the Russian side. The Ukraine's defense ministry, meanwhile, has urged the citizens in the key area seized by Russia to reveal the exact location of Moscow's troops who are hiding in the area. The defense ministry's statement mainly aimed at people in and around the southern city of Enerhoda, which is home to a major nuclear power station. Russia first captured Enerhoda in the month of March and then recaptured it in the month of May. Now, just today after the Russian missile strikes hit the southern port city of Odessa, destroying the Ukrainian military boat, Kyiv has said that it is still preparing for the grain exports from its Black Sea ports, while Russia has said that the attack actually was meant on warships and the Harpoon missile depot in Odessa. However, the Ukrainian lawmakers have now countered the Russian claims, and they say that Odessa is totally a civilian seaport, and what Russia struck with its Caliber missiles was actually civilian infrastructure. The Ukrainian authorities have reported that one Russian missile struck a grain silo while another landed nearby. However, neither has affected the loading of the grains at Odessa's docks.
Those attacks happened few hours or several hours after signing an agreement where Russia signed the deal with the United Nations and with Turkey, agreeing for a truce while shipment of grain will move. This is Russian propaganda, how it works. It is totally a civilian seaport, Odessa, and not only Odessa seaport, but civilian apartment buildings being destroyed almost every night and every day by Russian missiles.
Now, Ukraine's public broadcaster quoted the Ukrainian military as saying that the government is actually ramping up its preparations to restart the exports and that Kyiv will continue its efforts to carry on with the grain deal, despite Moscow's attempts to jeopardize it. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, meanwhile, has slammed Moscow by calling the strike as a blatant and a barbaric act. He's also further added that the attack was a proof that Russia will find ways not to implement this deal that was signed with a lot of fanfare after mediation by Turkey.
Сьогоднішній російський ракетний удар по Одесі, по порту нашому, цинічний, виявився ударом також по політичних позиціях самої ж Росії. Якщо хтось у світі раніше ще міг говорити, що потрібен якийсь там діалог з нею, з Росією, якісь там домовленості, бачите, що відбувається. Сьогоднішні російські калібри знищили саму можливість для таких заяв.
Now, the strikes in Odessa have also drawn some strong condemnation from the United Nations, the European Union, the United States, Britain and Germany, who've denounced the attack in the strongest possible words. The American Secretary of State Anthony Blinken said in a statement that the Odessa strike casts some serious doubts on the credibility of Russia's commitment to the United Nations brokered grain deal. Russia, however, has told Turkey that it had nothing whatsoever to do with the latest attacks on Ukraine's southern port city of Odessa. Ukraine's Army's Operational Command South, meanwhile, has released a new video showcasing the aftermath of the strike. In the video, firefighters can be seen battling a blaze on a military boat while flames and black smoke billowed from the vessel. And according to reports, many have also sustained injuries and the port's infrastructure has also been significantly damaged. Now, the Odessa attack comes just a day after Friday's grain export deal between Russia and Ukraine, and the deal was brokered by the United Nations and Turkey and was signed in Istanbul. The deal aims to allow Ukraine to export grain via its Black Sea port. And the development comes after months of failed attempts by the West to release the grains that were stuck in Ukraine. And this comes as fears of a global food crisis continue to loom worldwide. And this is because Russia and Ukraine are both major global wheat suppliers. And the ongoing war has precisely halted the supply of grains from the region. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.